It's a pretty amazing feeling knowing that you're
So
not really
good.
tied down to anything.
And or tied into anything.
Yeah.
I understand having an incredible house. I understand having supercars. I understand having super yachts and how these things are glamorous and they're dope and they're accolades of success. But they also occupy a lot of mental real estate.
Mm.
And these are things that somebody else has marketed to you as beacons of success, right? Unless you've been told that a Lamborghini equals success, then not everybody's going to buy into that philosophy. But it's been marketed as something that equals success. But once you acquire it, are you truly successful, or did you just buy something because you had the ability to buy it? I just don't want to be tied down to materialistic things because it's just not my cup of tea. I want to be able to have the freedom and the peace of mind to do whatever it is that I want. So the more freedom that I have, the better ability I have to move, the better ability I have to think, and I have less things that people can hold against me
Hmm.
and take away from me because I don't really have much. Now, and then my entire rotation back into crypto was when BlackRock announced their Bitcoin ETF, that they were applying for their Bitcoin ETF. And BlackRock ETF is your basket of assets where basically individuals can come and invest into products, exchange traded fund. That's what it's called. And they applied for it and they got it. And that's when crypto started to take off again. So I rotated all my cash because I held no assets. I didn't have these liabilities. I was able to rotate back into the markets and it's doing extremely well.
What are your predictions for Bitcoin?
$150,000, 2024,
Really?
100%. I mean, it's not that far away. We've achieved mass adoption. We are at the cusp of a massive revolution whereby crypto is no longer seen as gambling money. It's really seen as a store of value. It's seen as a medium of exchange. It's seen as a bet against the US dollar and a bet against fiat.
Hmm.
Over the last 4 years, the US dollar has lost 20% of its purchasing power. Purchasing power means your ability to buy a good, a service at a certain given price. So let's say you had $10,000. 4 years ago, you would have been able to buy something. Today, you would need $12,000 in order to buy that exact same thing. But you don't have that extra $2,000. So you have to work extra in order to generate that money, in order to generate your ability to purchase said thing. So what happens when they continue debasing your currency? You have to have assets that you want to flee to. That's the first thing. The second thing is, have you tried to send money overseas?
Yes.
It's the worst thing in the
It's a
world.
headache. The bank will put an excessive fee on the transaction,
It's
and
a
then the
fee.
exchange rate is terrible.
They'll ask you what you're doing with it. Sometimes it'll take 3-4 days to land. If it's a really big wire, sometimes it'll get flagged. You have to call the bank. You have to insert a PIN number. You have to get a text message. That text message you got to verify. With crypto, I can just send you money, peer-to-peer transaction, without really having to worry about it. A really cool thing now that I was telling you before, Telegram is rolling out your ability to send money through usernames, right? So you're going to have your Telegram username. I'm just going to be like, hey, Mike, here's $10,000 in USDT. Done, sent to you. I don't have to ask JP Morgan Chase whether I can send money to your HSBC bank account and fill out a wire questionnaire, and then that gets logged. So now we have an interconnection.
Surely the
All this stuff
government,
is
the
crazy.
government's going to get involved with that because, like,
At some point,
how do
absolutely.
you,
Unless it becomes so big that it's hard to stop.
Mm.
And that's where mass adoption needs to take place. That's where the peasants need to band together, just like the movie Bug's Life. Remember when all the ants got together?
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, that's what you have to do. When all the small fish come together, they can actually dictate what the status and the norm is going to be. But it requires a lot of balls and it requires a lot of courage to do so, because you might have to sacrifice your freedom. You might have to sacrifice your lifestyle. You might have to sacrifice your well-being for the pursuit of that freedom. And most people are just not willing to give that up. Most people like to live as comfortable slaves. And it's a very sad reality. But that's why building on the internet and finding what I like to call these glitches, right? These people that resonate with a message of authenticity, a message of a life where you don't have to censor yourself every time you open up your mouth, a life of deep freedom where you can believe whatever it is that you want to believe. You can do whatever it is that you want to do as long as it doesn't hurt or affect another person, uh, is what I'm rooting for. And if we can band enough people together behind that, then I think it's an unstoppable.
The moment I was earning enough money where people would make a pretty decent offer for me to do something, and I was just able to be like, no, like I genuinely don't want to do that. Like I can't be bought. Like that's an amazing position to be in.
Yes.
You
And
should be,
most people are for sale.
yeah.
And most, like we talked about these humiliation rituals, these are people that are for sale.
Mm.
Some people are like, I'm never for sale. Yeah, but what if they offer you 50 million?
Mm-hmm.
What if they offer you something that is life changing? And some people get these offers that are life changing offers. But if anything is, if you have a price, whether it's a multi-million-dollar price or, you know, to keep your job because you get jabbed, then you're a slave
Mm-hmm.
because you're for sale. And I'm not for sale. That's
Yeah.
why you need to be able to get rid of all the things that are liabilities or that can be used against you so that you can live a life of freedom. And freedom doesn't mean having a lot of things. Freedom just means your ability to do whatever it is that you want to do, wherever it is that you want to do it, however it is that you want to do it. And it requires a lot of work to earn that freedom.
Yeah.
And most people just don't want to put in the work to get rid of those shackles. I did, and it paid off. And now my objective is to be able to translate that same message to other people.
Mm-hmm. Where are you getting the insider information for where the markets are heading, whether that be the stock market or when it comes to crypto?
When it comes to crypto, all you have to do is realize the amount of sovereign nations that are observing it. The fact that, for example, El Salvador made Bitcoin legal tender,
Mhm.
which means they made it money. So Bitcoin is legal as money. That's which is crazy to think about, that a sovereign nation would consider this digital coin a medium of exchange and a store of value. So much so that the IMF has a policy that if IMF is the International Monetary Fund. It's one of these organizations that funds a lot of countries that are in despair. They have a policy that if a sovereign nation legalizes a currency, then they have to consider that specific token or money source or thing money as well. So Bitcoin has gone from being, like I said, a gambling token or a black market casino chip to a store of value. That's the first part. The second part is just what you're betting on. When you hold US dollars, you're betting on the fact that the US dollar is going to hold its value, right? That's what you're betting on because you're holding it. But I don't want to bet on the US dollar because the US dollar has been fucking people for the last 50 years. So why would I bet on it? The US dollar is the reason why we fund wars, right? Is the US dollar is the reason why you can print money out of thin air and fund mercenaries to go all over the world and drop bombs on kids.
Yeah, it's so wild how they send so much money to Ukraine. I don't know what the hell's going on in Israel, but the US has so many problems inside of the country itself. Like the homelessness problem is still something which absolutely baffles me. It's like,
crazy.
How have you not sorted this out yet?
Because they don't care. Because the government's there to steal from people, not to help people. And that's what people don't seem to understand. That government aid is not government aid. That when the United States comes and drops $1 billion relief package, it's not a relief package, it's a loan.
Mm.
And if you don't pay off the loan, now you have to sell off national assets like land, like precious metals, like natural resources to pay back that debt. And that's how you turn countries into slaves.
Yeah. I like this quote, which you said, "Those who want to lead the orchestra must be willing to turn their back on the crowd."
Mm.
What do you mean by that?
You have to be okay with being misunderstood.
Mhm.
You have to be okay with being rejected. You have to be okay with not thinking like the 99%. If you want to lead, you have to lead from a place of confidence. And the worst thing you want to be is be a follower that follows followers. It's
Yeah.
the worst thing that you can be.
Sheep.
A sheep that follows sheep. A leader is the one that sets the direction, is the one that thinks on their own terms, whether they're right or wrong, whether you agree with it or not. You have to be able to turn your back to the crowd. You must be able to turn your back to the status quo and the norm, because usually the norm is dictated, like we said, by perceptions that are managed by extremely powerful entities and people. And it's usually based off of a very uh, limited set of rules and beliefs and a preconceived set of plans in order to manage society. And most people cape to that. So whether it's the school system, whether it's how people think about a job, whether it's how people think about relationships, whether it's how people think about their eating habits, all these things, you have to be able to think out of a place of autonomy. And it may not be comfortable, it may not be popular, but usually the popular thing is not always the best thing. And if you want to be a leader, you have to lead yourself first. And you have to lead yourself through free thought and through critical thinking. And unless you develop those things, then you're going to just be a follower of followers.